Okay. Got permissions from its owner, her owner, to do a little bit of service work on this beastie. Not so much repair, because the thing after all was working, but if you saw part one, you know what I'm talking about, with this thing needed some attention. A little bit of work to keep it rolling. I have a bike stand and would use it, but for the muffler and engines in the way of the way this particular stand works. So instead I've got her suspended from above. You can see the yellow straps connecting the skyhook. And that'll keep her from tipping on me. Not going anywhere. And for other parts I can jack up the wheels and spin and align and whatever I need to. And I've gathered all, at least what I think are all the tools I'm going to need for this. That's just a bunch of wrenches, some zip ties, and some fuel line, incidentally. Yeah, I had fairly long conversation with the fella, and asked questions, and he saw the video, the previous part one. He saw that, he reviewed it, and we got to talking on the phone about all this stuff, and he said he's pretty much touched everything I've mentioned. So he's due back here today, probably around 6:30 p.m. or so. It's just about 1:30 p.m. right now. Oh gosh, nice day, but a little bit hot and humid. I'm seeing what's that? About 86 degrees and sticky. So I got a little fan to provide some sort of breeze. I'm in the garage, not going to be out in the sunlight to do this. Garage door's halfway up to give me some ventilation and a little bit of light. This might likely involve the use of some solvents, in which case I'll have to turn the stage light off. Not a problem. So what's the plan? Well, first, he mentioned that he put some torque on the head bolts. I'm going to check that first. The spark plug, as I mentioned in the previous video of this, was flopping around in there. Were it not for the wire, if the thing would keep running, it would have just fallen out. It was that loose. Surprised the engine ran, really. Well, maybe not so surprised. You know. Otherwise, it's got good compression, right? So, oh yeah, I have a few hours to do quite a bit of work, so I probably ought to get started. The head bolts. I got this cardboard down here because it's been dripping dirty oil, as these two strokes will do from the muffler. Angled down the way the muffler is, it just drains out, which is good. You don't want it building up in here because you get boom, and it makes a mess. Everything on here, I don't know about the bicycle itself, but the engine in the kit is all metric hardware. Not a problem. What fits these? I'm going to go ahead and guess. Yep. Now, we're going to check these my way, anyway. I don't know what the torque spec on these is. I've looked, I cannot find it. If you find it, you know, post it in the link, or post it in the comment. I'm sure he would like to know. Well, you know, he doesn't have a torque wrench. But what I'll do with these is put, oh my goodness, that's loose. I'm not, this is, oh, that one feels about right. So he said he was checking these, and they can wobble out. The vibrations on these things is stunning. I've never seen it in stop motion. Just under a strobe light. So I'm going to very gently put these where they should be about. Now, see this? It appears, it's hard to tell. These may be studs that go all the way through the cylinder ball to the head, all the way down into the block. I don't know. Don't particularly care, but I don't want to strip it. I don't want to warp anything. Just gentle. That feels about right. And you can see I'm not pushing real hard on this. Aluminum, steel threading into aluminum, you'll wipe those threads out easily if you're not careful. Hey, if the worst that can happen, actually the worst thing that happens is you strip the bolts, or rather the casting. The least that could happen is they come loose a little bit. You get out your wrench and you tighten them up. So don't overdo it. They're going to come loose. Check it once in a while. The same thing with all of these fasteners. The ones he asked about specifically with the head bolts, so those have definitely got checked. With these jam nuts on here, I don't see those as being a problem. That's one. Anyway, oh gosh. Uh-oh. Oh boy. I am not touching these fasteners from the carburetor to the head. No way am I touching those. There's something going on with that. That ain't right. The two bolts where they should be square going in are like that. I don't know if it was cross-threaded into the head, or was it, did he bend the stud? I am not touching that. No way. It may have been over tight, it may have been cross-threaded, I'm not touching it. Nope. These, with the muffler appear to be square. And I might put a little wrench on there just to see, but with the jam nuts like they are, nothing's wobbly. I don't see a problem with that. There's so many other things. Oh, good Lord. Every time I look at this, there's something else. I mentioned earlier that this cable is a great cable. It's the rear caliper. This hose clamp for the fuel tank tubing interferes with it. That's going to wear the cable through. No doubt it's already done. Showing marks. You can feel it. Old gasoline tank bracket. But this here's going to be a bitch. That's going to be a bitch because the throttle cable sheathing is directly and quite severely interfering with the rear caliper braking. You can see, and I don't know, you probably can't see, but I'll tell you, it's already worn through the plastic covering on this cable sheath. And, well, this doesn't seem to have done any damage to this cable here. It's beginning to saw through the throttle connection, the throttle cable. Oh gosh, that's not a problem. Maybe I can tie this throttle cable off to the side some, as long as this bend radius isn't. Yeah, see, it might be too tight. That needs to go. That's just a problem waiting to happen. Actually, it's a problem in progress. Oh gosh, what to do? One way, actually, a good way, now that I look at this carburetor is not really on plumb. It's tilted this way forward a little bit, so it's leaning into this cable. Ideally, you would want this level plumb. Yeah. Because of the way the fuel inlet to this float ball works. So that's got to be addressed. Jeez. Move this, get it out of the way. Find out why. Oh God. Sharp edges on this, whatever it is. It's already cut through kill switch wire right there. Let's see. Now I know why they mounted this up so high. That kill switch wires are too short. And they should not have moored it where they did. Oh man. Everything blossoms into configuration. Okay, where was I? Spark plug. And right here. Keeps it hardly moving. Light on. Even with the fan, it's a little hot. Here's spark plug. Z4C. I looked this up. Does not get good reviews. I see folks sort of scrambling to find replacements for these, sometimes without ever using the one that comes with it. Not sure why. But to look at it, it looks okay. But maybe they have a high failure rate or something. I've already checked the gap on this. Do it again. Just because it's funnier that way. I've looked it up for this. This wants a gap, what was it, 0.6 to 0.7 millimeters. This is a 0.66 millimeter feeler, and it is just a good fit. It just begins to interfere a little bit. So that's halfway between, I'm calling the gap golden. As I said, this thing was running, even with this loose as tits on a turtle. So I did put a little bit of carb cleaner on it just to get rid of some goop, oily, sticky stuff, pocket fuzz, because I carried this in my pocket. For reasons unknown. It seems clean. Threads look good. What's that feel? How does it feel? Feels good, real good. Okay, so cinch that down. should do it. In this terminal here. These are like this so that they can accommodate like a spade lug or something, or a ring lug. Otherwise, you just got to push on. This is loose. I'm going to Loctite that. At these voltages, the Loctite's not going to be an insulator, trust me. Besides, this brass will bottom out on the stud here coming out. That alone will provide an electrical connection. But I'm going to put some Loctite over here and keep vibrating loose. Not the first time I've seen that. And it can be a problem. So, this ain't going nowhere. I'm going to segment this out. Go get me some Loctite and carry on. Okay, zoomed in a little bit. Got me Loctite and another couple of tools I'm going to need. Zoomed in a little bit so you may be able to better see what the heck it is I'm touching. Pardon me. As I said, spark, you saw, I guess, spark plug is in, and this keeps coming loose, so Loctite, best stuff ever invented. Well, one of the best things ever invented. This is a removable strength 242. It expired and I can't even read because it's worn off. But this stuff keeps for a long time, even at room temperature. I love it, especially with strawberries. So I'll dab a little bit on these threads, and a little bit of overdoses here. Wipe that off. Just enough to soak the threads. And put this connect back on and give it a little bit of torque. Not much. Great porcelain, ceramic, or whatever it is. So that shouldn't come loose again. Let's see where to go next. Let's go with this problem here. That really needs to be fixed. How? Well, they don't give you a lot of extra cable with these kits. I don't know. But this has to be moved some way. How to do that? Of course, now I gotta check to see if you can still see what I'm seeing. I reckon. Close enough, huh? It looks like this carburetor can rotate in this direction a little bit down to get this cable away from this. Not only that, it may be possible, I don't know yet, to move this whole carburetor back toward the back toward the front. This way. On this thing here. We'll see, but at the very least, it can be turned a little bit, and if that radius isn't too tight, if it's not so tight that it causes the throttle to bind, nobody wants that. But I'll tell you what, if I had one choice or the other, I'd rather the throttle fail before the brakes fail. And they'll do so at the worst possible time when you need them the most, in my experience. This has which around here, it's a Phillips, and so, geez, that's not even loosen that stuff. No. Man, this clamp is bumping into the weld. And certainly flip over to the other side. Out of the way of this brake cable. Way out of the way, actually. With the carburetor plumb as it should be. Actually, let's tighten it up for a while. This thing, damn, is square nut. A stove nut. On the other end of this. I suppose that's supposed to be held in place by this clamp. They don't work so well. Okay. So, what does the throttle feel like? Well, it is springing back. I can hear it bottoming out. So, I'm gonna zip tie that out of the way. That is a tight end. And the throttle's sticking. And at the same time, you sure don't need brake cable interfering with it. And is there any way radius in that? Yes. Beautiful. Great. Get down on this zip a little bit, make sure she don't move around. Looks like I'll leave about a quarter of an inch on these. Now, if you cut it too close, sometimes they let go. Also, it gives you something to pull on if you need to snug it up, cinch it up a little bit later. Okay. This needs to be fixed. Yeah, this kind of aluminum wire here, cramping the fuel line, and looked like at one time at least. I'm taking it off. This is what was used to secure this piece of tubing to support the fuel tank. It's doing nothing, and it's in the way. I rather like the solution of using the screw those connects. It's pretty rugged, and those bend to conform to whatever size tubing you have. This was a mistake. I angled it the way it is, but that's easily remedied. See the tie there. That's the clutch. Yeah, this can all be fixed. There's long hands. None of it keeps. And they aren't. Yeah, we'll deal with that later. Getting ahead of myself here a little bit. Alright, so for the time being satisfied with it. One of the things he mentioned, in fact, it goes back to something I mentioned, that there was oil all over the place. Well, he had mentioned that the fuel line, if you can call it that, supplied was a clear plastic tubing. Not known for from China to be the best option. It may have been neoprene and gasoline chews that stuff up, especially if it's got ethanol in it. He did have a problem with it flowing fuel out from the tank and covering everything with the oil in it. So he replaced the major part of the fuel line with actual fuel line. What is this? Oh, it's got numbers a mile long. Yeah, there it is. SAE 30R7 is what he's got on here. I don't have any of that. I have some fuel line here, but it's the wrong inside diameter tubing. Between the fuel filter and the carburetor is a piece of the original clear plastic tubing. I don't have anything here handy to fit that, but there does seem to be enough slack in this. That doesn't turn with the steering. To cut a piece off and replace that, it will fit. Not terribly worried about that at the moment. And I think we got this managed next. This. This needs to be. This thing is all Mac and Myers higher, man. This really should be routed on the complete other side. Geez, you know, there's all kinds of slack in here. It's got a loop. Okay, I know I'm doing things out of view of the camera right now. It's hard not to get distracted, and every time you look at something else, oh crap. Post clamp one. It's a hex and straight, so we'll go with the hex. It's funnier that way. Better that. I can't even see. It's that. Get the hook. Hook it up, boss. There. Make things easy. Let me back this out a little bit. I guess you don't need to be so zoomed. Okay, that'll work. Hope. So this hose and clamping gets loosed and turned. Actually, this is put on upside down at the sharp points. Cleaning up. I'll tell you what. Go ahead and fix that. This needs to go this way. And not clamp anything but tubage. Yep. That's right under there. This will go something like that. I'm gonna have to do more work with this brake, this caliper cable. Righty tighty. Jeez. Come on now. Yes, I know, this is very exciting. I may turn this. If you see it flash suddenly to a different image, that's what I did. So, get this more or less facing down. This way. That really needs to be a smaller clamp. And move it up here a bit. This thing, jeez. Might have to cut that off. Yep, it's got to be cut or bent all the way, otherwise I'll scratch your leg. And at the same time, we can that really wants to be moved. This isn't really doing anything. Now, jeez. Now we're changing the wrench of the hole in it. This needs to go away. Yeah, we're gonna there. Cinch this up. And for now, angle that down. Yeah, dribble that off or something. So you spend it. Yeah, things might cut through this window. What else? This clamp, I'm going to leave where it is. It's not any vital area. Leave that alone. This. Sorry, I'm thinking to myself. Carb's no longer bumping into the clutch cable. That's good. Brake cable gears no longer rubbing against, cutting into throttle cable. Oh. Working okay. We'll tap later. Oh, that was in this bowl has a drain on it. And yep, that was a these things wiggle around so much. These are not good for doing that. A little bit of that 242 Loctite, man, I'm telling you, there's a lot. Maybe using that on the spender and maybe some other bits as time permits. Geez, it's 2 p.m. already. I want to have this done by the time he gets here. Hate to have it done. But there are some things I must consider under here. This throttle cable really needs to move. Jeez, do I have to disconnect that whole thing? speed around that and around. Needs to get by with this, which should be good for it. Let me, I'm going to take some time, look over some things. I'll bore you with my explorations and me mumbling to myself. Be right back. Okay, well, almost there. I did a little bit of work off camera. It's been pretty boring to watch, actually. Nothing special. There's got some zip ties and put some zip ties in places. Remove this, the igniter, down, so that gives us lots of room to flex, and this is properly pointing downward, grain. The original installer of this kit relied quite heavily on black vinyl electrical tape, which does not react well. The adhesive does not react well at all with hot fuel or oil. It just melts and falls apart. The adhesive gives up the ghost. There's so much oil on this, I'm not going to mess with it. It's just going to be a note of caution, something to keep an eye on. I've rerouted the throttle cable to the other side of this tube, so we're here now, and so that no longer interferes, nothing interferes with this brake cable. I'm going to get rid of this. That's useless. It'll sit there vibrating. It's the old gas tank mounting management. So, quick checklist. Oh yeah, this needs to be bent. Cable's sticking out of there. That's a pants catcher. Pull the chain guard out a little bit. Up top here where it's tension. Part of the reason for that, I'm sure, was because the chain was so loose. I'll take it out. Now, you can see there's just a little bit of play in there. I still have to make sure that the things line up correctly. I'll have to lift the back of the bike a little bit to spin the wheel and do that. This idler, this tensioning idler, is all the way up, which means this had to move that way. This chainstay here tapers down and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner the further back it goes. So yeah, there's limitations with this, how far back you can go before this clamp gives up its ability to clampage. There are ways of remedying that, but we're not there yet. One simple way would be to take one link out of the chain, move this up, move this down. But the more linkage you have on the sprockets, the better. So that one wants a tight radius, this one wants a radius it has. I'm going to leave that be. As I said, I'm going to jack up the back of this a little bit, spin the wheel and see if anything probably. I've still got to fix loose fender, do that. Let's see, it's about 3 p.m. right now. It took a little bit of time thinking about what to do, checking things, and doing it. Some of it that you would not have been excited to watch. I wouldn't have. I'd probably said, "Get on with it, will you?" And in fact, I was saying that. Boy, that muffler comes real close to the crank here. Whew. Quarter-inch clearance. And this is not very forgiving of positioning. So be careful what bike you get. One of these kits, be careful what bike you got. Make sure it's going to fit. Because it's a honeymoon fit all the way around. Anyway, I'm almost to the point where I want to try this thing out. At least, at the very least, ride it as a bicycle. Make sure I didn't cause any troubles. I doubt it. I would like to get the engine running, of course. But yeah, first I'm going to jack the back of this up, spin the rear wheels up, and see Benny's rubbing, besides maybe Henry here, and see how well this chain's lining up with the sprocket here, and and how much run out there is on this sprocket. There may be some. If there is some, I'm not touching it. I'm not real happy with this method of attachment. If you're going to get one of these kits, make sure you have a bicycle that has fairly heavy-duty spokes. You go trying to put this on something like a Varsity or a Continental or a little, that's probably going to work the rim, because the rim run out depends on how tight the spokes are. In fact, that's how they're adjusted after that. Another thing I noticed with this is that this rear wheel is cocked a little this way. I don't know if that's on purpose. It may have been to align things with this chain. This one's back, the bicycle chain, and who cares? It's got a derailleur on it. It'll line itself up. This one needs to be true. It looks like it is just from eyeballing it here. Nevertheless, I'm going to jack the back up a little and spin the wheel and see if there are any problems. If not, I'm probably going to take it for somewhat of a spin. But I do got to address the seat. If I cannot put both of my feet firmly on the ground while sitting on the seat, I'm not riding it. It's just too dangerous. It doesn't make sense. And I'm certainly not going to ride it without the seat. Now, he had mentioned that he was trying to raise the seat and couldn't. This has a quick release here and another up here, having to do with this luggage rack. I suspect he undid the luggage rack when he tried to move the seat, it wouldn't. And he probably wanted to open this quick disconnect, quick release. And even if he did that, this may not want to pivot on this as you lift it, because this is on an angle to this. So if I want to lower that seat, I probably have to loosen this luggage rack, maybe even pull it. And I have to watch my time. It's 3 p.m. I don't know. Mess with that a little bit too, I think. But first, right now, I'm going to jack this rear up a little bit. Just enough to get it off the ground. There we are. Let's see. You can see that. Maybe over a little bit. There we go. Then the clutch is closed. Let me have it. The clutch is pushed in and locked. So this should not be turning the engine itself. What I'm looking at is the alignment between this tensioning idler and this sprocket. And there's a little bit of run out with this sprocket. It's, it's quite a little bit wavy, to be expected with the way this thing's mounted, and it's real thin. It's mild steel. I doubt that that's going to be a problem. You go around here and crank it a little bit. Just try not to get this tangled up in there. Very good. Yeah, there's quite a bit of forgiveness with this idler, this tensioning idler. And that thing takes, when you go to start these, this idler's going to take a pretty good hit, so you gotta check that. Not sure what, or it appears, I can't really see, but it appears there is a ball bearing associated with this, but that the plastic part, I'm gonna guess nylon, is not really firmly attached to the bearing at all. No, it isn't. So this piece may give up the ghost. Yeah, he's gonna have to look after that. I'll show him, of course. But anyway. Oh, it's nice and tight. Well, tight enough. It's not flopping all over like it was. The clutch cable is no longer interfering with the carburetor. The throttle cable is not kinked. It's not hitting the brake cable. Probably use a little shot of WD right on here. You know, this is a round brake, so can't keep it going. You know, gotta keep it going all over. Yeah, put this one pivot here. A little sticky. That's interesting. Boy, that brake is right. Yeah. Seems to be free enough, I guess. The center. I don't much care for these. I like the center pull. They try to make this like that in your dreams. Yes, great. That's probably nothing serious. Okay, so I'll let this back down. Let's see what else is there. These white wire ties here are just temporary until I'm still gonna get time allowing mess around with that fuel line some. It really would be nice to replace this piece of clear tubing down here at the car. We can talk about that. That's going to fail. It's just a matter of time. And I do believe there's plenty enough tubing here to cut a little piece off. It's only going to be about 1.5 inches long to replace that. The only trouble I see with that potentially is that the barb for that fuel line is awfully close to the body of the carburetor. It may be difficult to slip this outer diameter down into that barb. I don't know. Yeah, if I do attempt that, I'm certainly going to preserve this piece of clear tubing so I can put it back just in case the other doesn't work. And there's, like, gosh, maybe 3 inches excess at least here. That could be spared. Of course, it doesn't. The tank doesn't move with the steering, so it doesn't need all this right there. Now, that's the plan. I'm going to cut this off Alright, let her down, ride around the yard some, without the engine, and see if there's anything leaks out. If not, I'm going to try to start it, and I'll ride the thing. But I do have to look at the seat before I ride. That should not be a big deal. The way I have this suspended right now, I can't mess with the seat. It's poked from right here, seat pipe. So I'm going to let this down and torque around with the seat a little bit and see if I can ride it and if the thing leaks out. If not, or if so, you'll probably hear from me anyhow. Back in flash. Okay, looks like I'm finished with her for now. Shored up what I thought was wrong, adjusted what I thought wasn't right. Did take a spin on it already. The thing started up readily. Geez whiz, I think I may be gone 25 feet, and dumped the clutch and off she went. And so it's working. There's still a few little things about it that bother me, but not much. He'll make it home. I'm fairly sure of that. So I'm gonna ride off and do a final test. It tightened up a couple of bolts here and there. I still need to put the luggage rack back on. That's going to be no trouble. Probably do that once he gets back. Get the seat elevated to where he's comfortable with it. I mean, it's still backwards, but I've got it all the way down so my legs can touch the ground sitting on it. And yeah, it's getting around rush hour here. It's 5 p.m. here. And so I'm gonna go off and ride. I don't have a GoPro or anything like that. I have this here. So you might see me whiz by on the street down beyond where the bike is right now. Down there. So I'll cut this and then stitch it back in a flash. Yeah, rush hour. A lot of traffic here. Strip. I'm gonna ride it anyway. Back in a flash. Works perfectly. That thing's a hoot. I'd like to have it. Yeah. See ya.